And it leads down to guilt and loneliness and separation and hell. And every step leads lower. Every time you flee from the presence of God, you're in trouble. Every time. Every time you miss your devotional life. Every time you miss your time of prayer. Every time you miss your time of reading the Word. As a Christian, you're in trouble. And every time you hear the gospel and do nothing about it, you're in trouble. You're in eternal trouble. Because living inside of your body is a spirit, and that spirit lives forever, either in heaven or hell. And you're taking a chance every time you hear the gospel and do nothing about it. Adam and Eve fled from God's will. They rebelled against God, and the human race is suffering the effects today. Samson was raised up of God, a mighty man, a strong man, a man of God who had taken the Nazirite vow. But sin led him astray. And finally, he was blinded, put in prison, and ground at the mill wheel. David, the man after God's own heart, also became guilty of sin. He became guilty of adultery and guilty of murder. And he suffered for it the rest of his life. God forgave him, but the scars remained. And many of you are trying to flee from God tonight. You know that you need a personal relationship with Christ. Many of you go to church. Most of you, I imagine, in this audience tonight, go to church. Most of you have been baptized, or you've been confirmed, or whatever in your church. But you are not sure that Christ lives in your heart. You're not sure that your sins are forgiven. You're not sure that if you died, you'd go to heaven. If you have a doubt about it, you ought to settle it this very night. You're fleeing from God. Many of us flee by travel. You know, we live on airplanes, and that is when the controllers allow us to fly. And we live in hotels or motels. And we see people traveling in airports. Thousands of people. And I just wonder where they're going. Many people are so restless today that they just want to travel from place to place. They can't sit still. We met a couple this summer, my wife and I did, and they have homes in different parts of the world. And they said, we're so restless, we can't stand any place more than 2 weeks at a time. Then they get on a jet and go to another place. Restless, fleeing. And many people flee into the lust for things. You see people just buying for the sake of buying, and there are many people that have become compulsive shoppers.